Hello, everybody. Welcome on back to Fantasy Football Futures. I'm Tyler. This is Tim.
How's it going?
And today is Thursday, November 18th. Coming up on Week 11 Fantasy Football. Just in football in general. So we got some exciting things here. We're going to go over some news first, and then we're going to do things a little different today. We're going to do the matchups kind of instead. This first episode, it'll be two parts. We're going to break up the matchups. We'll have the first seven matchups of the week, and then give you our college football picks. And then the next episode, which will come out the day later, will be the preview of the next seven matchups, and then we give starts and fade at each position. We'll both each choose our own and go from there, but we're looking at that to make it a little easier, better than just starting to fade people. So, check us out on Spotify, everything. YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, and comment. Let us know. We would appreciate any support you can give us, and feedback too. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into some news around the week for Week 11. Really was the other day, Wednesday, Lamar got sent home with sickness. They said it's not COVID related, but if you have Lamar, it's something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, he's had this issue a few weeks. I feel like he goes home for a sickness, but then he plays every single week.
Especially he's got the world's worst immune system.
Yeah, I guess so.
We saw 2 years ago when that poop game, whatever people were saying. So that's just something to keep an eye out for with him. They're expecting him to play, so I don't think it's too much of a concern. But if something were to happen with COVID, but I guess he probably would have tested already.
Yeah.
So just something to keep an eye out there. Elijah Mitchell, surgery on his finger. He practiced today, but he was in a non-contact jersey. Mm-hmm. So with him not playing, Jeff Wilson Jr. is probably the guy.
Probably.
And is Jermichael Hasty back, or is he still in the...
I believe he is. I'm not 100% positive about that, but I believe he's been back. He just hasn't played at all. Let's see if I can get that for you.
I know he hasn't played at all.
He's back, yep.
So I would almost assume it's probably going to be those guys, and maybe Trey Sermon runs in the third guy. But he's probably... I think they're hopeful he's going to play, but it's not a guarantee. So that's one that if you're looking at it, you're really contemplating now. Like, if you have Mitchell and Deontay Foreman right now, or Deontay Foreman, are you playing Foreman over Mitchell? Just in case of whatever?
I would be honest. I'm actually starting in one league. I'm starting Foreman. Because of what I've seen with him over Adrian Peterson, it's been more Foreman and getting more snaps. So
that's what we'll talk about.
I like that guarantee because it does look like Mitchell, even if he does play, he might not be set, but I don't see him playing like he has been with that broken finger.
So would you slide in Jeff Wilson Jr., or you just kind of...
I honestly would not be... I would not be playing 49ers running backs. I think there's going to be a big committee with... what's his name? Juszczyk,
yeah.
Their fullback. I think he'll be Juszczyk, whatever. I think he'll be thrown into that as well. So you might see 3 up to 4 running backs in for the 49ers this week. So for fantasy-wise, I don't like that. So I'm just staying away from the backfield for the 49ers right now.
That's what, we saw last year that kind of worked him in. Jeff Wilson Jr. had like a solid game. Hasty put up a couple games where you're like, okay, this guy, but... Like you said, it could be one guy this week, next week, you never know. So that's something to keep an eye on. You never know if Trey Sermon will do whatever. Kyle Shanahan's question mark. So Mitchell, question mark before this game. Hopkins, again, did not practice this week. Has not practiced today. That's still concerning. I feel like if you're the Cardinals right now, you're playing it safe more than anything. And why not? I would be smart with it just because he is DeAndre Hopkins and he can do things on the field that you want to rely on later in the year than right now, and they're 7-2. They're 8-2.
The 7-2 Cardinals
7-3, 8-2.
They're 8-2.
So really, you're not too bummed out with that. It's just something to keep an eye out for, which opens the door for Kirk and everybody else there. Just got an update here. Allen Robinson again did not practice with his hamstring injury. That's a sign of concern, but it's a plus side if you're a Darnell Mooney holder or a Cole Kmet. holder in your league. So
yeah, we'll get into more of Cole Kmet later on. I think not even this episode, but maybe the next episode. Talk about him a little bit.
Yep. So yeah, that was another thing. And then Miles Sanders was recently activated. Now, so he's designated to return off IR. So they have 21 days to activate him. I think this is huge for the Eagles just because of what we've seen them do over the last 3 weeks with Jordan Howard and Boston Scott. They're really relying on the run. It takes a lot of pressure off Jalen Hurts. And I think it's opened up Devontae Smith.
Yep.
And I think Miles Sanders, to me, was I don't know. He's a solid third, fourth round pickup. He's a guy that you should be able to rely on getting like 15 points, 10 to 15 points a week. But they weren't utilizing him at all. And like we saw last year, he had games where he could break for 20-plus points.
Yeah, and the one game against the Bucs when no one was running on the Bucs, that second half they had, I think it was the week before he got hurt, he actually was running pretty well against them. So maybe when he comes back, maybe they'll go more to them. Boston Scott, Gainwell, they're not doing a whole lot for them, so I can see them going back to Sanders once he comes back.
It really was Howard who's kind of getting
it's Howard, yeah.
So I don't know. I'll be interested to see. I wouldn't play him this week, but you give him a week, I would start to insert because the Eagles have a pretty solid schedule coming up for running backs, especially if you're looking ahead to playoffs. It lines up well. So that's just something to keep an eye out for. Or is there anybody else on injury report? I know AB came out that he had bought a fake COVID card, maybe.
Yeah, and he's finally at practice. Kamara actually did not practice today, while he practiced yesterday. So that does not look good for Kamara this week, going down from not practicing when he was limited yesterday.
And that's another one is Jared Goff didn't practice again today.
Yep.
Which would be, I think his name's like Tim Boyle or Tom Boyle.
It's Tim Boyle. Tim Doyle? Or is it
Boyle?
Tim Boyle. So, honestly, they say it looks like he's going to be starting for the Lions. So, good luck with that.
Yeah. Which, I mean, really right now, I think that at that point you're just starting Swift.
Yep.
You may be throwing Hawkinson just because he might be a safety blanket when they do throw the ball.
Hawkinson went for 0 points last week. He's been a real big down.
First 3 weeks great, last 2 weeks terrible. So those are all injuries and everything that's happened. Really outside of that, not too much right now. Just keep checking daily to see what you're seeing. So let's go ahead and jump into the matchups here. First part of the matchup preview. We got Colts at the Bills. For this one, it's at the Buffalo. I think no matter what you're looking at, you're going to start Allen Diggs. But really the question is, you got the Colts, which are going up against the number one defense against wide receiver, running back, and quarterbacks. What do you like, Jonathan Taylor? I think you got to play him because of what he's shown the last couple weeks. But if he does have a bad week, it's not something to you shouldn't be surprised because of what the Bills have done the last.
Yep. And to be honest with you, the Bills have been a great defensive run against the pass. But you also saw what Derrick Henry did against them. Derrick Henry is a different breed, but Jonathan Taylor is really good.
Yeah.
So if you give him the ball enough, Jonathan Taylor will find those holes and get some points from you. But other than that, I think you're starting Michael Pittman just because he's been consistent throughout. But I would not predict Pittman to have that great of a game. Maybe if you have very strong wide receivers, he might be the odd man out here. For me, also on the Bills side, I'm starting Diggs, Sanders, and Beasley. The Colts have been terrible against wide receivers in fantasy. So
especially the last couple of weeks, like we saw the Jets, they were having a field day. They put up a lot of points. That's what I was going to ask. Like, if you're looking at the outside of the main two with Allen and Diggs, Sanders, Beasley, and then Knox coming off injury, out of those three, are you playing all three because of what it is, or maybe you're playing two?
I also think with how bad tight ends have been, because last year we saw Gesicki 0 points, Hawkinson 0 points, very low scoring. So you need to find that tight end that will give you points. I would be playing Knox this week, just because I don't think there's not that better matchups right now for the tight end spot.
And that's what I mean. That's what I was thinking. I think Knox, if you're hurting that tight end or something, he's available because someone dropped. I would pick him up and play him solely because of the fact that we've seen the the Colts defense has not been good. They're 28th against quarterbacks, 28th against receivers. So you're looking at it's a great matchup for everybody on the Bills team. Colts, we've seen they play well, they do whatever, but I just don't think they're at that level yet to compete.
Yep.
And just put up big points, and you just look at the Bills defense and the numbers and be like, all right, that's enough. But like you said, I think any receiver option this week is a solid play for the Bills. You really, with Sanders and Beasley, you're just hoping that it's one of them. Their week.
That's been the bad thing, because if Beasley goes off, Sanders is the one that has a terrible week, and if Sanders goes off, Beasley the one that has a bad week. So
it's just you're picking your blood. If you got one of them, so if you have both of them, I think I would take Sanders for potential, but Beasley also.
Lately, Beasley's the one that's been getting those passes.
True.
Sanders at the beginning was, but now it's been Beasley. So I'd almost go Beasley with that. But I think you can't go wrong. Hopefully, you just pick the right one, maybe that gets in the end zone.
So that's what looking here. It's Allen Diggs. No matter what, you're looking at Sanders, Beasley, probably subbing in, playing. Hopefully, it's their week to go it off. And then Knox, to me, I think he's a sneaky play here. One of the quieter ones that you could play. Now, he might not put up a lot of yards, but he's more touchdown dependent in this matchup than anything. So that's something to keep an eye out for. And then for Colts' sake, you're pretty much looking at Pittman because of he's been the consistent number one there.
Yep. And then with
Jonathan Taylor because of what. But this is a matchup. I think if they get shut out and they don't look great, you just got to take a cap.
I'm not too worried about it. I'm not playing Carson Wentz this week. I don't think it's a good matchup. I think there's better matchups out there that might be you find on benches you can trade for a little or on the waiver wire. And I've been I hate how the Buffalo does their running back, so I always stay away from Zach Moss and Singletary.
That's right. If you're playing one of them, I think you're playing Zach Moss.
You got to,
because of the touchdown threat that he has in the red zone.
But I hate doing it. I hate seeing them on that starting lineup.
Both of them. So that was Colts Bills. Let's slide into the Ravens at the Bears. Now, this one I feel like you're looking at the Ravens team. It's a no-brainer. You're playing Jackson. You're playing Andrews. I think this one is a no-brainer. You're playing Marquis Brown. I think he's gotten to that point this year. He's a must-start each week, no matter what. We saw last week he's 5 for 11, 5 catches on 11 targets, 50 yards, I think, or so. He dropped a couple, but Lamar's looking his way. And I even think you plug and play the tight end this week, too. The Bears are 29th against receivers right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm 100% on Marquis Brown. He's a great start. I think you have to start Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is the number 2 tight end in fantasy right now. Yeah. Just been a go-to guy for Lamar between him and Marquis Brown. And then the Bears, they haven't been good against wide receivers. I think they're a little bit better against the run. So this might.
A little bit, yeah. I think they're middle of the road kind of against the run.
Yeah, so I think it might be a good day or a really good day if you have Lamar Jackson, Marquise Brown, or Mark Andrews. Even throw in Bateman there a little bit. I think Bateman can be a sneaky play. It's like a flex or 2 flex guy.
That's why I like flex for sure. Yep. Bateman has showed, and this is his 4th game back, I think. So his numbers will continue to grow, and I think giving him more options. We saw with Sammy Watkins coming back too. Bears just against pass haven't been great, and with everything going on there, it's just I'm looking at the Ravens team to put up good points and expecting huge weeks out of like Andrews and Jackson for sure. And then I think Brown is another easy play. Bateman's a good play. You can't really go wrong with anybody on that side of the ball. Running back wise, like if Devontae Freeman's the only one playing, you play him. But if it's splitting between him and Murray, I don't think I'd touch either.
Yeah, I'm staying away from them. When Murray's out, I did like playing Freeman, but when you have both back there now, you just really don't know who they're going to. They cut Bell, so he's out of that mix, but you still have Tyson Williams there, and then it's just nothing consistent at all in that backfield.
Tyson Williams feel like is the most explosive and the most the guy with like the most energy, and when he runs the ball, it's like okay, something can happen. Devontae Freeman, he's just going to get you the yards you need and go on. So, for the Ravens, those are like the plays I think you're doing. This week for the Bears, I think you play Montgomery. He's clearly the number 1 back.
Yeah, he's number 1 back. I think the Bears go to him so much that he's going to find those holes. He's a great running back.
Yeah.
I think they saw last week of when they give Montgomery the ball, Justin Fields looks better.
Yeah.
When they have to worry about the run, then Justin Fields has a little bit more of an opening that he can throw to. So I like starting Montgomery.
That's what, yeah. I think oh my gosh, these dogs. Montgomery's definitely a play. I think the Bears are starting to run the ball more with Fields too. So I think they're getting both of them involved more in the run game, which takes a lot off Fields throwing the football. And we saw that a little bit with against the Steelers 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And with Herbert in there, he was doing good.
That's what. So I think no matter what, Montgomery's a play. Ravens, they're average against the run. They're not great. They're not bad.
Yeah.
So that's something. But the thing that stood out to me most right here is the Ravens are 28th against tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
And Cole Kmet has been slowly becoming more involved in the offense. I think 2 weeks ago against the Steelers, he had 6 catches, 87 yards. So to me, I think this is a guy that they're going to rely on more. And if Allen Robinson's out, I think this is a huge play for tight end. And Cole Kmet is a guy who's available in a lot of leagues right now. So that's why, you look at him, and then Darnell Mooney, of course, coming off 2 touchdowns. Without Robinson, he's a guy that him and Fields have really connected. And, I mean, do you look at Justin Fields in some leagues? Just because of the fact that he's running the ball more, and he's more of a danger to run the ball right now.
Right now, I'm staying away from Justin Fields. I've seen not enough yet. I think against the Steelers, he was looking a little bit better. Steelers' defense is pretty good, too. So I am watching him, but I'm not starting Justin Fields. With Cole Kmet, I think he's a great play. I know against Pittsburgh, Jimmy Graham had 3 targets in the end zone. I don't see that consistently happening every time. I think more of that's going to go to Cole Kmet, and they like going to those tight ends there in the red zone and the end zone when they're not running the ball. So I think Cole Kmet's a great play this week. And if Robinson is out, then I'm for sure playing Mooney.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Even I think if Robinson plays, you got to play in a flex, in deeper flex leagues, 2 flex leagues, or just a flex position. Darnell Mooney might be a play solely because if Robinson comes back and he's still hurt, hamstring injuries are the worst. It takes one run play for them to re-injure themselves. So, to me, I think it's Kmet and Montgomery, Mooney for sure. And then, really, depending on quarterback matchups.
If you're in deep leagues, Justin Fields could be just because the running option.
The running aspect of it. And he has looked better over the last 2 weeks. So, to me, that's just something to keep an eye out for. But, yeah, so that was Bears and Ravens here. Then let's go ahead and move into Lions at Browns. Here, you're looking at Browns. I think if Chubb's in, you're obviously playing Chubb. If Chubb's out, you're obviously playing Dearness.
Yep.
Baker was dealing with some knee injury stuff. Passing the ball wise, Landry could be the only guy maybe you throw in, but he just hasn't been healthy all year, so I don't really know. Even Donovan Peoples-Jones has struggled. We've seen games where you expect him to be good, and then he doesn't do anything, and then he'll just have a big game. Yeah. So I think it's very inconsistent throwing the football.
I really think the Browns have a good game against the Lions, but I just don't know who's going to have. I feel like it's, besides Nick Chubb, it's just going to be very even out between Landry, Peoples-Jones. If I have Landry, I'm starting Landry.
Yeah.
I think this matchup, how bad the Lions are, I think it's just good for him to have. For the tight end, it's so even between Njoku and Hooper that it's hard to pick which one.
Which one you think will score or not.
So maybe in those deeper leagues, I do like Peoples-Jones just because of this matchup and how bad the Lions can be. But in the end, it's all Nick Chubb. It's going to be running the ball.
Chubb, Dearness with a couple play action passes. I don't think they're going to get crazy. There's no need to.
Yep.
Lions probably without Goff. You're really looking at Swift for sure because Swift. He's a great running back. Browns they're middle of the pack against running backs here too. They're 17th, so he can have a solid game on the ground. But if Goff isn't playing, I think it's gonna be an offense relied heavily on him.
Yep.
Especially they're going to the Browns, so weather can be bad at any point there. To me, Hawkinson, you have to try.
I think you start him because I can see a world where you have to start Tim Boyle and you want to make it very easy for him. So you
Quick
get
throws.
the best player. You give it to have it where he has to just throw short pass to Hawkinson, go to Swift each time.
Yeah.
So I can see a world where if Goff doesn't play, that Hawkinson might have a better game in fantasy just because they need to rely and get the confidence of Boyle up.
That's what,
early.
And this game to me is just like Browns. This should be a cakewalk. Browns have looked bad they looked bad last week.
Yep.
2 weeks ago they beat the crap out of the Bengals. So I don't know. They're a team that doesn't get away from what they do. And with Baker being banged up and Landry being banged up, it's going to be Chubb. So if Chubb comes back, do you think Dearness still has a chance of playing and getting an okay performance?
To be honest, so in Sleeper, they're projecting him for like 0 points. But you've seen when they played the Bengals, Dearness Johnson, didn't he score a touchdown at the end?
Might have.
I can see if this is a blow. If you think the Browns are going to kill them and it's going to be a runaway, Deontay Johnson is going to get those points at the end of the game.
Dearness, yeah.
Dearness, yeah. Did I keep saying Deontay?
That's what you said. So that's what I was thinking. Like, if it's going to be a blowout, like it possibly could turn, especially if Boyle's playing, you don't know what the defense will do against them. Myles Garrett, they can't get off the quarterback at times, force a lot of turnovers. Johnson could get some garbage time points, and if you have him and like you want to play him as a flex, now I wouldn't say like running back 1 or 2, but a flex play just because you think, well, Chubb's going to get his work, and I read something the other, like they're not sure where Chubb's conditioning can be after COVID. So
it affects everyone different. He could be perfectly fine, or he could be.
So that's something to keep an eye out for too. So to me, I think like it's Chubb. My guarantee, you're playing Chubb no matter what. If he's healthy, you're playing him. Then I think a nice flex play if you have him is Dearness, just because of the potential. If it's a blowout, you could play him and be fine. Landry is the best receiving option, I think. It's just the concerning thing is injuries with him. And for Lions, it's literally Swift Hawkinson. I think that's the only.
And then I think the Browns defense, playing the Browns defense, it would be a good defense to play. I don't think they're owned in a lot of leagues, so picking them up and playing them, I think, is a good week for that.
Yeah. So this is a game we both think Browns win.
Yeah, not a whole lot going on. You just kind of the big guys are playing there. The running backs.
It's just, and it's kind of like this next matchup too. You got the Texans at the Titans. Titans have looked like the best team in the league right now. They're beating. They went through the toughest part of their schedule and went 8-2. And you're looking at them now, and they got Texans. They have Miami. They have Houston again.
I think Jaguars.
Yep. So it's a nice run here for the Titans.
And they have, I think, a 2-game lead in AFC for the number one spot. So
you're looking at a Texans team that isn't great. To me, you look at one guy, and that's it. It's Brandon Cooks for the Texans.
Yep. No one else.
Yeah.
No, I'm not even looking at anyone else.
Titans are actually 32nd against wide receivers, which is terrible. And I don't know how they're 8-2, but Texans don't have any other option outside of
the thing is, because the Titans have been winning so much, the other teams just have to pass the ball.
Oh, yeah.
So, but then the Titans just come back and keep scoring.
Yeah.
So I think that is a little bit misleading. I think this Titan team defense is better than they have been in the past.
Oh, 100%.
But I'd be starting Brandon Cooks, but no one else on this Texans team.
Yeah. Titans defense has shown huge improvements in the pass rushing game, which is something they were missing last year. Yeah, they might be 30 seconds against pass, but yeah, it's the Texans. Like David Johnson, he's not doing anything. Philip Lindsay, no. It's Brandon Cooks, and that's it for the Texans. And for the Titans, Brown, I think, is going to have a huge bounce back week. Mm-hmm. I think he's had like 6 points combined the last 2 weeks. I think he comes out and puts up huge numbers this week. I don't think the Texans have anybody that can guard him.
Nope.
Cover him. Why do I say guard? Like basketball. But yeah, there's nobody that can cover him. And to me, if you're playing quarterback, I think Tannehill, he's always a viable option for a running touchdown. I think he'll pass the ball just fine. The only option is, I think Foreman, out of all the running backs, is the play, and we just kind of talked on that. You've seen him get more of the workload over the last 2 weeks, and he just looks like he's got more. I don't know. It's just like he's got more of the it factor when he runs the football compared to like AP, who you love. just because of what he's done in the past. I just think Foreman's the play. I mean, you could play AP because it's the Texans if this is a blowout. Maybe he breaks one off and this is a game or whatever. Because they did play the Rams and the Saints, which are both solid run teams. So, I don't know. But Foreman, to me, is the play over McNichols and...
Yeah, Foreman's going to be on the field more. McNichols probably just third down.
And then he's going through concussion
so he might. But then Adrian Peterson, I think they'll try to maybe get him in a little bit, but it's going to be mostly Foreman, I believe. I like Ryan Tannehill playing him at quarterback this week as a good stream. And then you mentioned A.J. Brown. Don't really have anything to add. I know one of the biggest waiver pickups this week because it was a low waiver wire was Marcus Johnson. And I think him in deeper leagues could be a good flex start just because of how bad this Texans defense is. Last week he had 6 targets. The week before against the Rams he didn't play, but then the week before that, 66% snap count with 5 targets as well. So Ryan Tannehill's been thrown to him. Julio Jones is not playing, so he's getting more targets than Rodgers and Westbrook. So maybe in a deeper league, you maybe start Marcus Johnson because you probably did pick him up this week if you had him. So something to look forward to. I'm not going to start him, but it's just one of those
It's
12-team
league, and you got buys going on still.
You got injuries, and you're just trying to look for maybe a good stream here just for 1 week. This might be the week for Marcus Johnson.
Yeah. It's strictly matchup play at that point because of the Texans 100%. And everything. But yeah, like Brown, Marcus Johnson, I think Westbrook could easily be a guy like that too, just because of matchups you look at them. So that was Texans at Titans. Let's move into the next one, which I think will probably be one of the better games of the week, which is Packers at Minnesota Vikings. Packers are 10th against the run. They're 5th against the pass, which was pretty shocking to me. 18th against tight ends and 8th against quarterbacks. You're playing Cook. He's been pretty dominant against the Packers last year. I think he's been averaging like 101 yards or something. I heard a stat today. It was like Cook has been tackled at the 1, 5, 6, 7 times or something crazy like that, and then they throw the ball to Conklin. So it's like I think Cook's numbers they're down a little bit because teams they're pretty much saying beat us through the air. But at the same time, when he gets to goal line, Cook it's always right there. And I know from having him, but his numbers could be so much better if he just were to get in instead of getting tackled. Those games where he's getting tackled at the 1, it changes everything. It's 6-point sticks from 14, 20-point weeks. So to me, Cook is a start for sure. Thielen, what are you thinking here?
I think how much Thielen, he'll have games where they kind of go away from him, and then he'll have those boom games. He's kind of like a better Tyler Lockett, more consistent Tyler Lockett, because he doesn't have those low games.
He's also like the goal line guy.
Yeah, that's the thing. He gets so many targets in the end zone and the red zone that it's hard for me to sit him just because he could just go for 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And it's so tough because... So I'm playing him just the same thing with Jefferson. You can't sit Jefferson, top 10 wide receiver in the league. Can't. Nothing really about that. Add the same with Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook's been great against the Packers. I think he's going to have a bounce back week, and I expect this to be kind of an offensive game, and so I do that. I'm playing Thielen. Those are the only 2 wide receivers. I'm also playing Conklin as well. Kirk Cousins has shown that he really likes going to him, especially in the red zone too. Yeah. So I really like starting Conklin this week at tight end.
Well, that's what I think. When you look at it, Conklin is literally benefiting off the fact that they have Dalvin Cook.
Yep.
When you're inside the 5, you're looking at them. You expect they're going to give the ball to Cook because why wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty much everyone's buying in on the run, and Conklin's just getting open in the back. So, I like Jefferson. I think you always got to play. He has had bad games against the Packers. I looked at it last year. I think he's had 21 yards in the past 2 meetings with them.
Really?
Receiving. So it hasn't been great. But to me, you got to take a chance on Justin Jefferson because of the potential he has and everything.
Yeah, it's just think about sitting him because he's had those 2 bad games and then he just goes off and just.
Well, and I think the big game changer to me is that it's at Minnesota tonight at Lambeau.
Yep.
So I think that's a play. Kirk Cousins here. I don't know. I don't know if I'm playing him this week or not.
I wish this game was not at noon. I think this could have been good.
3 o'clock? Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Are you playing Kirk Cousins this week? Or
I'm not.
That's why
I don't think I am, because Green Bay's defense is. I was listening to. I forgot what I was listening to, but when their defense is this good, that's when they win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And so their defense has really stepped up. Alexander, that's probably why Jefferson has bad games, because Alexander can lock him up, that quarterback for them. And then everyone else, their pass rush has been a lot better. So I don't know. I'm not starting Kirk Cousins this week. I like just the offensive power with Jefferson, Thielen, Conklin, and Cook, but I'm staying away from Kirk Cousins.
That's what I'm staying away there too. Pretty much Vikings. That's pretty much all those guys. KJ Osborne could be a weird flex guy, but he's also seen his numbers come down a lot from the beginning of the year when we saw that. We're looking at the Packers here. Vikings D, 23rd against running backs this year in points allowed. A.J. Dillon coming. This will be his first start. He's a must start this week.
I think so. I love A.J. Dillon this week. Tried to get him, just didn't have enough fab, or I wasn't high enough on the waiver wire because everybody's wanting him. I wish I would have saw this coming and kept him. I think I had him earlier in the year. Just couldn't keep him because I just didn't have enough room. But, I love A.J. Dillon, starting him. Definitely, I think you have to go with Rodgers. Another great run. Can't sit him. And then Devontae Adams just...
That's what. Are you looking at maybe like an MVS to kind of...
I think this...
Or like Lazard? Who do you think? If one of those two were to have big games, or Cobb, who are we looking at for that flex play? I think you take Scantling because of the fact of the deep ball threat that he brings.
I think the deep ball threat with him, but with Cobb, Rodgers has shown he really likes Cobb. He's getting the ball thrown to him at least 4 times a game. So the consistency is there with Cobb, but the big game is there with MVS, though. So I kind of like both. I think I go with MVS because of the Vikings' defense is bad. So there is that better option for him to have that big play. But if you're looking just for consistency, then that's when you go with Cobb.
That's right. And I think if like deep league flex, you're looking at a flex play here, it's MVS because of the fact that he can go over the top, and we've seen it time and time again where he just beats everybody deep. So Devontae Adams, no brainer. Rodgers, you're starting him. Dillon, I think it's a must start. He could be a must start for a while, depending what Jones is looking like. So I think this will be one of the best games of the week. Vikings, this is a game they win. Don't know why, but that's what they do. But I just feel like Packers are too good. They're going to beat them here.
Yep.
But we'll talk about that later. Then the next game here, we got Dolphins at Jets. Is Joe Flacco starting, right?
Yep, that's correct.
So you got old second-year Tua going against old Joe Flacco, one of the most elite quarterbacks of our time that we've seen watching. To me, I think you're looking at more options with the Dolphins. Like Waddle is a guy I'm going to play for sure. I think Waddle has inserted himself as kind of a must start each week.
Yep.
We've seen him get a lot of target share and everything. So that's some Gesicki, I think, is another guy you're starting. The Jets' defense has not looked great the past 3-4 weeks. Where like we saw at the beginning here, they were okay. They weren't terrible, but I think you're going to see Gesicki bounce back, have a solid week. It wasn't like he wasn't getting targets at all.
He had 7 targets. He just didn't have one catch.
Couldn't catch it. It is what it is. Yep. Sometimes you get those weeks. You're looking at Gesicki, I think, with the Dolphins and Waddle. Are you starting Tua or Gaskin here?
I am. The Jets are the worst defense in fantasy points to running backs. So I think I don't like doing it, but I think you have to start Gaskin just because of the matchup. I think if Gaskin's the ball, the Jets defense has not been good against it. So I hate saying it because I don't want to, because it bit me in the butt all year. But I think you have to start Gaskin this week.
You look at it, Jets defense not great. With Flacco in there, you never know what kind of performance you're going to get out of him. Could be turnovers, could be a slow, methodical offense that isn't doing much. So I think you're right. You play Tua because the hopes of Waddle breaking one or Gesicki catching a pass. But this is a defense that really doesn't scare you a lot. And Tua Tua isn't great, but he hasn't been terrible since he's coming back.
Well, when Tua's been playing, he's been throwing the ball a lot.
Yeah.
And so I like playing Tua this week. I think it might be Jets' defense against the pass has been pretty good, but I don't know. I just don't know about this game. To be honest with you, I love starting Waddle, and that's about it. I am starting Gaskin and Gesicki, but I think Waddle's the only one I feel comfortable with.
See, I would feel comfortable doing Waddle and Gesicki. Tua, I think, over Gaskin, but at the same time, you've seen the Jets struggle against run defenses, so you gotta play Gaskin in a spot there. So there's that. Jets wise, Michael Carter's really one of the bright spots there. He's been one of the best pass-catching running backs while in the last couple of weeks in the NFL. So that's always an option. I just don't know. The Dolphins played great last week defensively, and they played solid games defensively the last 3 weeks. So I'm not like we saw last year. Dolphins team be very solid defensively, and maybe they're finding that stride again. But to me, it's just I think really if you're looking at Jets, Michael Carter might be the only play, and maybe possibly Elijah Moore. But I don't think I'd touch any receivers with Flacco.
That's exactly what I was going to say because I like Michael Carter. I think he's a good play. But I don't like Joe Flacco. I don't think he's a good quarterback. Between that and I think the Dolphins' defense is better than they were at the beginning of the season. I know you're going to have to sometimes, but I do not feel comfortable playing Corey Davis or Elijah Moore.
No.
I think it is just Michael Carter that would be a good play this week.
And to be honest, I still don't feel. I wouldn't feel like, oh great, Michael Carter's going to have a huge
I think
game.
It's one of those things where he's going to get the ball so much.
Just because it's Flacco.
Just
I could see that being that way. I don't know. It worries me, but in PPR, like you're looking at it, it's a great play if Michael Carter's going to be that guy, like safety blanket for Flacco. So something to keep an eye out for. Your Dolphins players, you look and say I'm going to start all of them and hope that they're going to do what they should against the Jets. Jets really just looking at
I just think you have to start Gaskin just because how
bad
the Jets are defense against the run. So.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Then our next one here, we got Saints at the Eagles. A little interesting here. The Saints are actually 10th against quarterbacks, second defensively against running backs this year, but 27th against wide receivers, which was a shocker to me because how solid they were. I think Marshawn Lattimore is one of the best shutdown corners in the game. So that's something to keep. And then they have one of the best stopping of tight ends. So they're fourth against tight ends allowed points. So here, I think you play Hurts no matter what because of the fact that his legs can create so much. Eagles have looked somewhat competent on offense the last 2 weeks from what we've seen. Running back wise, I think if Sanders is back this week, you're laying off it.
Exactly. I think if Sanders is playing, don't play any running backs. I think Hurts, no matter what the stats of defense is between passing and him being able to run, he's just been even against when the Eagles look bad, he still does good in fantasy just because of that. And I think you have to go back to Devontae Smith and playing him every single week. Just because the past 2 weeks it's been good for him. And I think there's going to be a better connection between Hurts and Smith right now. So I'm starting him against the Saints. And then probably maybe if you look at Goddard at tight end just because they don't really use any other tight ends. So I would start Goddard this week, but I think that's the only three you go to for the Eagles.
That's what I was thinking. Hurts for sure. Smith, I think he's becoming someone you're relying on a little bit in a flex play. Just really depends matchup-wise. The only thing that worries me with Smith is Marshawn Lattimore being on the call to cover him. And we've seen games where against good defenses or against good players, Smith has been shut down. So it really depends to me. I think if the Saints get out to quarterback, I think Smith struggles because of Jalen. But that's just there. And I think this week is a week you stay away from Goddard because of his concussion protocol stuff that he's going through.
Yeah.
And he's missed practices. So to me, I think it's Hurts for sure. And you're going to play Smith just because of what you've seen the last 2 weeks. But I wouldn't feel 100% comfortable doing that just because of what we've seen. Saints-wise, you're really looking at Kamara if he plays. And then if not,
Mark Ingram.
But Because like Eagles, they haven't been great. They're 22nd against running backs, 3rd against wide receivers, but they're 32nd against tight ends this year. So Trotman could be a possible play here. Johnson.
I was about to say they've given up 9
They've given up a lot.
Yeah.
It's been
load.
So to me, it's just something to keep an eye
out for. They've given up the most touchdowns to tight ends this year. So I think that's something to look at for Trotman. Just if you're needing that tight end, I think he might be a good play this year.
And it's solely touchdown dependent. So you're looking there with that. So I mean, outside that, it's Kamara.
Or Ingram.
And I think if Kamara's playing, you just kind of say goodbye to Ingram.
Yep.
But either one, I think you'll be fine with playing. It's going to be. I think it'll be a close game. Saints are still a team we can't figure out. They're weird. They have no outside help. So I don't know. They were in the conversation to get Odell, though. I saw that. So
they were.
But yeah, this game it hurts Devontae Smith just because of what you've seen. I'm still not feeling 100% on Devontae, and then Goddard, I'm staying away from just because of injuries, and they have some linebackers who do well, and then Gardner Webb, who's very good at covering tight ends. So Saints wise, you're looking at the main 2 running backs. That's pretty much it. So or Trotman and Jawan Johnson, I think his name is. So as tight end touchdown threats this week. So that wraps up all our matchup previews for this part 1 here. The next video we'll go over the next 7 matchups and give pretty much the same takes, but let's just jump into here some of the college football picks for this week before we move on. This week I'm not crazy about the board. I feel like it's a tough board. I kind of went with a lot. Like there's some big games. You got Ohio State, Michigan State, Alabama, Auburn, all before next week where they played some of the rivals. So to me, I think it's an important week here, and I think college football, for some reason, I watch it, but I don't watch as much as I did the NFL. But I feel like I've been reading some teams, I've been understanding it. So let's kind of go. My first pick here is Michigan -15 at Maryland. Maryland, I saw a stat, are 0-8 against the spread against the last 8 ranked teams they've played, and this is at home and on the road. So in Michigan, I think they need to come off and start rolling because they got to play Ohio State, and so I think if they come out slow, it's gonna hurt them. I think they need to come out firing and shut this team down and get some momentum going into that Ohio State game. So I like Michigan -15.
So that's one of my picks as well on DraftKings. It's 14.5, but I love it there. I love Michigan. My other pick, I'm going actually SMU plus 10.5 against Cincinnati. I'm a big Cincinnati fan. I want them to win, but they just have not been covering. They just haven't been playing up. They've been winning enough to stay in that conversation. I think Cincinnati does win this game, but I think it's going to be a lot closer. I do like SMU this week.
I have SMU here. I got them at plus 11.5. But like you said, Cincinnati, they're not a top 4 team in the college football, but they're a team that they're winning. They're winning all their games. They're playing close games when they should be killing these teams, and that's what's really holding them back. And I think SMU is pretty good. Their quarterback's good. I don't know. To me, Cincinnati, they've just been struggling. I think the SMU is going to keep this one close. So I also like them at plus. I have a plus 11.5. So SMU, we both got that one. And then my next one here is Virginia Tech plus 8 at the U. Miami, I'm not on the Miami train. Virginia Tech, to me, they played some solid games. I just don't think the U's great. I think to be an 8-point favorite at home when you're a 5-5 team, a conference game too against Virginia Tech, who Virginia Tech can surprise people at times. I like Virginia Tech here plus 8 at the U.
Yeah, I was looking at that one. I do like that pick. I probably will add that to my card later on. But I'm actually going with Kansas State at home -1 over Baylor. Baylor, big win last week against Oklahoma at home. This is where you have a letdown spot. I think that's where you have Kansas State winning. So I'm taking Kansas State -1 over Baylor.
That's why I was looking at that one because I was thinking Kansas State's like 7-3, Baylor's 8-2. and they just beat Oklahoma. To me, I feel like it's a coin flip game. But the biggest difference here is Kansas State. In college football, I think home field matters a lot, especially when you come off games like that.
Yep.
And Kansas State's a team that has, for years, just bursted bubbles of teams like Baylor after coming off big wins. So I actually don't hate that at all. But yeah, I think that one would be a very close game as well. So that's something I might actually add, because I was looking at that one today too to see. So is Kansas State -1. My last one then for my card here is I got Houston -8.5 at Memphis. Houston, earlier in the year I had them beating I forgot who they lost to. They might have lost to, it might have been like Auburn. I had expected them to beat them at Auburn, came out and they won. But I think Houston's good. I think it's going to lead up to a great matchup between Houston and Cincy next week. SMU, I had them earlier to beat Houston, but Houston took kickoff for a touchdown with 13 seconds.
They lost to Texas Tech the beginning of the season.
That's
who they lost to.
And Texas Tech is not good.
It's not good, but that was September 4th. So
yeah, and it was also different time then. So yeah, so to me, I think Houston -8.5 wins this game. Even you maybe look at the over here. Both teams high scoring offenses. So, but I think Houston wins this game -8.5.
Yep, I love that game. I was looking at the game too. My last game is actually going to be. Been going back and forth on this one, but I think this is the right pick. I'm going Utah -3 over Oregon. At Utah, night game. I think what was confusing me is everyone thinks Oregon's going to lose. Mm-hmm. So this is the game they're going to do it. So many people are on Utah that this might be an Oregon game. But I just think you go with the home team. Oregon's ranked 4th, but they're the dogs. Yeah. That's very weird to see. So I'm taking Utah -3. I think that's going to be a game Utah takes.
Yeah, and I think this one be late at night helps Utah. I think it's a 6:30 game.
Yep. I think if it's like a noon game or something, or an early game for them, I would think it's a different story. But with it being a night game, I think
this one's tough because, like you said, everybody's favoring. Everyone's hammering thinking Utah's going to win this game, and you just don't know. I feel like Oregon. They're not bad. They beat Ohio State early in the year. It's just depending kind of what's.
I think this is what's going to happen. Utah beats Oregon, and then 2 weeks or 3 weeks they play each other in the Pac-12 championship, and then Oregon will beat them.
So pretty much knock each other out of any
potential. Yep.
Pac-12. So
that's exactly what the Pac-12 does. Exactly.
Well, that's what everybody outside the Big Ten and the SEC do.
Yep.
And unless your name's Clemson, you're pretty much not going to get in. So yeah, I mean that game I think is tough. I would almost take Oregon, but like you said, that's I think just because of the fact everybody's on Utah, you'd think, well, I gotta take Oregon here. So that's all I have on my card. Do you have any others? I didn't take Ohio State because I feel like 19 points is a lot in that game.
Against Michigan State, I don't know. I was also looking at Florida -9 against Missouri.
They were -5 at one point. I was going to take them.
Yeah,
Mizzou is bad.
I think Mizzou's the worst or one of the worst teams against the spread. But -9 is just very weird. Florida is 4-5, but Mizzou's a bad team. So I was looking at that game. But other than that, I'm kind of staying away from everything else.
That's what. Yeah, I feel like it was a weird board this week. A lot of iffy points here. I mean, Vegas is just getting too good at this stuff. So, yeah, that's all I have for my card, and that's all we got. So, that was part 1 of our little Week 11 preview here for Fantasy Football Futures and our college football picks. We'll tweet those out. If you guys got any, let us know. But other than that, we will catch you on part 2 of our Week 11 preview. And make sure you check us out on everything else and follow and share anything, advice or feedback or anything with us. So other than that, we'll catch you on the next episode. Deuces.
See ya.